All right. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to Hot Cakes and Hot Takes. And we are back to bring you game five of the wild card weekend between the 7th seed Chicago Bears taking on the number 2 seed New Orleans Saints. Bears barely sneaking into the playoffs. So, boys, what's your initial reaction for this matchup? Think the Bears have a chance?
Well, I was
Boys,
going to say initially that you can't imagine that they're going to win. The Saints are at home and, are the highest seed outside of the Packers, obviously. But we did see this last year where they had home field advantage against the lowest seed against an NFC North team. So anything can happen.
The Bears are who we thought they were. I mean, they're going to continue to be who we think that they are. And yeah, I mean, you talk about a team just limping into the playoffs. That is the Chicago Bears right now.
Yep, that is fair. Well, we might as well hop right into the position battle. We'll start with the Bears on offense, going up against the Saints. So here we are, flipping over the Bears O-line. As you can see, they're about halfway yards per carry. They get about 4.2, 36 sacks they've given up on the season. I think that's 15th most in the NFL. But then you're going up against this Saints defense, which is had a stellar year. 3.9 yards per carry, which is top 5, and they got 45 sacks in the NFL, which is top 10. So obviously they're getting after the passer, which is what the Bears offensive line kind of struggles at. So going for this matchup, who are you guys giving the advantage to?
Yeah, to me it's pretty clear. You're giving the edge to the Saints defensive line. I mean, Cameron Jordan, probably one of the best defensive ends, honestly, in the last decade. That guy has been just a staple on that defensive line. And Marcus Davenport, Sheldon Rankins, I mean, they just got a ton of talent. And you look at the other side, and the Bears' offensive line kind of has been a struggle for the past few years. And that's why, in some aspects, you kind of give Mitchell Trubisky a pass in some aspects because it's just – he's not really getting protected. The scheme doesn't seem to help him all that much. They haven't really been able to consistently have a running attack, and I feel like a lot of those issues point to that offensive line.
Yeah, I'll even give the Bears offense a little bit of a pass too. I think, at least with Matt Nagy, the play calling certainly doesn't help them out. A lot of the times and I get it, Mitch is better in open space, but a lot of the times they'll just have designed rollouts, and that makes no sense to me, considering that you literally take them out of the pocket where the defenders can now just run away. So they'll just run away from the linemen. You can't hold them. So now you give Mitch all of 3-4 seconds max to be able to make a play, and so I do think they get a little bit of a bad rap. But yeah, I mean, like Paulie said, Cameron Jordan's an absolute stud. I think Trey Hendrickson is still really, really solid in his own right, and it may be a little underrated. Nobody talks about him because of Cameron Jordan. But yeah, definitely advantage to the Saints there.
All right, and we can move on to the next matchup, going with the Bears' running attack against the linebackers of the New Orleans Saints. I hit the wrong one there. Sorry, a little early. But here we got David Montgomery, obviously Cordell Patterson. Those two have been kind of the main featured backs for this Bears team. As you can see, they only 102 yards per game, which is 8th fewest in the NFL. But I think the past couple weeks, Montgomery's had some big games for them. And then when you're looking at the Saints linebacking core, obviously, nice name there, Zach Bond. Familiar face for those Badger fans out there. But you look at them, only gave up 94 yards rushing, 4th fewest in the NFL, and total yards allowed, only 310. So this Saints defense is kind of the real deal. But we guys give them the advantage to here.
This one is almost a push for me. I think for this specific matchup, I'm going to give the Bears running backs maybe just a little bit of an edge, just for the way that David Montgomery has been playing, late in the season, and the way he's come off, huge games and kind of shouldered the load for the Bears to get them back into the playoffs after they lost 6 straight. So, big boost for them because he's playing so well. And I mean, Cordell Patterson is a hybrid running back. It's just insane to me they continuously put him back there. But I mean, he is a great open field playmaker. So just the fact that he has the speed and the agility to kind of, do what he can in the open field. Not that the linebackers for the Saints are bad by any means, but I just think that the versatility that they have and the hot streak that they're riding, I'm going to give it to the Bears here.
Yeah, I'd say both of these units are pretty average. I mean, if I had to go one way, I probably would go the same way and give an edge to the Bears just because of, like you said, David Montgomery played really well the last half of the season. Didn't have a big week in week 17 against Green Bay, which I really was expecting him to kind of continue it, but the Packers seem to have figured something out and slowed him down. But I expect him to rebound a little bit this week. I think if they're going to have any chance, they're going to have to control that clock and keep it out of the Saints offense's hands and just, I mean, honestly, give David Montgomery 25 carries if they can and just ride him.
And maybe on the ground he kind of struggled, but I think he did have like 9 catches for almost 70 yards last week through the air. I think Mitch was using him a lot as a check down guy, which is a valuable asset. I don't think they've had a back that could do that since Matt Forte. So it's pretty nice to help the Bears system up. But speaking of receiving, we can move on to the Bears receivers going up against the Saints secondary. You know, Mitch Trubisky's there. Allen Robinson's had a really good year. And Darnell Mooney, I think the rookie, not sure, I don't remember what college he's out of, but, you know, Cole Kmet too, that tight end rookie, they've been getting some big plays for them. But as you can see, you know, just struggle getting yards. 228 yards passing is the 11th fewest in the NFL. But as of late, I think Mitch has kind of found something. But they're going up against, obviously, one of the top secondaries in the league. You know, they only allowed 217 yards passing, and they had 18 interceptions, which is tied for first in the NFL. So who are you guys giving the advantage to here?
How old are Janoris Jenkins and Malcolm Jenkins? I feel like they're both like 40. Seems like they've been in the league forever, but they continue to produce. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore, one of the great young cornerbacks in the league. And like you said, on the other side, they have Allen Robinson, but beyond that, they just don't have a consistent target. I know Darnell Mooney had some big plays last week, but we hadn't seen much from him really all season long. Jimmy Graham did take a step up this year. He seems to be fitting in nicely to that Chicago offense, but yeah, the edge is clearly going to the Saints secondary in this one.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not even, it's definitely the Saints having the advantage here. They've had the experience, as Bully's mentioned, they're, both the Jenkins guys are, pretty seasoned here at this point in their careers. So they're certainly going to have the edge. But, if you were to just take Trubisky out of the equation, Allen Robinson, in my opinion, doesn't get enough love because he's in the Bears offense. But he is easily, in my opinion, top 15, maybe even top 10 receiver in the league. He's really, really gifted in the things that he can do, and he, plays very physically. So I think he, gets a lot of footballs that, maybe other guys wouldn't catch, and he kind of maybe bails out, Mitch at times. So I think he really, really is good. Darnell Mooney, I believe, is out of Tulane for you, AJ, to answer that question. But I think he's a really nice compliment to Allen Robinson. Like I said, Robinson's big, physical. Mooney can get down the field and stretch the field and give a deep threat option. Mitch isn't great at throwing the deep threat, so he's maybe not as great as he could be. But I do think they may be a little bit more even than, in my opinion, than some others may have. But when you put Mitch into it and have to figure he's throwing the ball, it certainly gives a bigger edge to the Saints.
By the way, the two Jenkins, 32 and 33, so not quite as old as I thought they were, but that's still pretty old for secondary in the NFL.
Right.
Siki, question for you. Which Williams was the one that gave up the missed tackle to Stephon Diggs for the Minneapolis Miracle? Was it PJ or Marcus?
No, it was Lattimore, I'm pretty sure.
Well, he was the one on coverage, but who was the safety that whiffed the tackle? I thought it was a Williams.
It was probably Marcus Williams. If it was one of those, it might not even been either of them, to be honest. I don't remember.
Okay, come on, you're failing me. Your favorite player.
I wasn't watching him. I was watching Diggs run down the sideline. I was worried about something else on that play.
All right, that's fair. All right, we can flip over.
I'll cue it up for us. More to come.
Yeah. We'll flip it over and we'll go talk about the Saints offense versus the Bears defense. Started with the D line and the O line for the Saints. You see another Wisconsin guy there in Ryan Ramczyk. 29 sacks allowed, which is 11th fewest in the NFL. But they do get 4.6 yards per carry, which is, in the top 10. Pretty good. But it's helpful when you have Alvin Kamara back there. Been looking at the Bears D line. I think Hakeem Nicks is playing into this and in this game. And, the Bears do pretty good against the run. Only allowed 4.1 yards per carry, which is 9th fewest in the NFL. But looking at this matchup, I didn't add Khalil Mack here, even though he's going to be part of the linebacking core. I'm just looking at the D-line versus the O-line. Who you giving the advantage to here?
I think I would give the advantage to the Bears D-line, and I say that including Khalil Mack just because I don't really remember a whole lot of times that he actually drops back into coverage. So he's, basically a super lineman, just standing up and, a lot quicker than most linemen, at that position. But with him in there, I would give him the advantage just because of the amount of pressure that he can create and the amount of pressure that Akeem Hicks can create, on the other side. And those two together make a really, really great pair and make a lot of trouble for opposing quarterbacks. The Saints offensive line is certainly, really solid. Ramczyk is a great right tackle for him. Teron Armstead is great on the other side. So, according to our graphics, you're the number 1 and 2 offensive tackles in the league. So, certainly not bad by any means. Andrus Peat is also really, really solid in his own right. Just a little bit of edge, like I said, to the Bears just because of how good they really are.
Yeah, the strength to the Bears team is definitely in their front seven. So you got to give them the edge here. Like you said, 2 staples on the edges for the Saints offensive line and Ramczyk and Armstead. I think they're a little bit shaky in the middle, but overall, I just think that Bears defensive line is a much more consistent unit.
All right. Well, we can move over to the Saints running attack against the Bears linebackers. Threw a little Taysom Hill in there. You got Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, Ty Montgomery. Kamara, I think he's on the fence of playing because of COVID. I just threw him in there because he is, had a hell of a year. If you're looking at rushing touchdowns, 30, they had most in the NFL. Helpful that, he got 6 against the Vikings on Christmas Day. I know. 6 most in the NFL. And you flip the script there, the Bears linebackers, Robert Quinn's had a nice bounce back year. Roquan Smith, I think he's hurt. I don't think he's going to be playing this game. But, Danny Trevathan's also, a nice solid guy. And just looking at him, they're about middle of the pack for total yards or rushing yards and total yards. They're almost top 10. So who do you guys like in this matchup?
Yeah, this is a really intriguing matchup. And for me, it's going to kind of come down to, are any of these guys going to be able to cover Alvin Kamara out of the backfield if he is able to go in this one? And yeah, I heard that he's been watching practice live from home, and Sean Payton's got kind of like a little mic in his ear, and he's basically talking to Alvin like the whole time during practice, just like trying to get him to pick up on things that he might not see since he's not there. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Everybody just evolving and adapting through this year. I thought that was kind of cool. He's not there, but he's still there. But yeah, if he is able to go, I got to give the edge to the Saints running backs. I think in this one, just that element that he gives to that team is so good out of the backfield. And then if they want, they can give Latavius Murray 20 carries a game, and he's really productive. And Taysom Hill, throw a couple trick plays at him just to kind of keep the defense honest. And I just think you got to give the edge to the Saints. But that's really not any diss on the Bears linebacking core, because it probably is the best unit on their team.
Yeah, and I think, with the fact that Roquan Smith might not be playing, I agree with Bull in the fact that the Saints running backs would have the edge should Alvin Kamara play. But if he doesn't, I do think they lose quite a bit. Not that Latavius Murray is a bad running back by any means, but he is just not as explosive as Kamara and, the things that he can do out of the backfield, like catching the ball. So, like I said, obviously without Roquan Smith, they still have Trevathan, like AJ mentioned. They still have Khalil Mack. They have Robert Quinn, who can be a defensive end or a linebacker. So they just have a lot of depth also, and, very, very solid group there. So kind of a back and forth there, but overall I would give the edge to the Saints.
All right. And this one is actually the most interesting matchup, I think, just because who do the Saints have anymore? We're going for their lining up their receivers against the Bears secondary. As you can see, I have listed only one wide receiver for the Saints. I think Emmanuel Sanders is the only one that's healthy that played this year. I'm pretty sure they have 2. I think Michael Thomas is out. Was it Roquan Smith? Not Roquan Smith. Who's Smith?
Traquan.
Traquan. Sorry. Yeah. Ronquan. Traquan Smith. Traquan Smith, I think he's on the IR. Like I said, Michael Thomas isn't playing, so they're probably going to lean on their tight ends, Jared Cook, Josh Hill, and Adam Troutman. But looking at the secondary for the Bears, not bad, but they have some struggles. Eddie Jackson, obviously, he's one of the best safeties in the league. Kyle Fuller is a very good cornerback. But Buster Screen is out for the Bears too, so you got is it Kindle Vidor? He's now, I think, stepping in for his place. But I mean, who are you guys giving the advantage to in this one?
I'm gonna have to give the edge to the Saints, just because you could put Taysom Hill in there, and he's basically been their second receiver without Michael Thomas being there when he wasn't playing quarterback for Drew when he was hurt. So, and Emmanuel Sanders is still very good. Traquan Smith has been in and out, and he hasn't been consistent even when he's been in. But Jared Cook, Emmanuel Sanders, Drew Brees, those guys are very, very good. Obviously, Drew Brees, first ballot Hall of Famer. Even if he is up there in age, he's still playing at a high level. But the Bears secondary is very solid. Led by Eddie Jackson, one of the better safeties in the league, and Kyle Fuller is certainly one of the upper half corners in the league as well. So, not a huge jump, especially when Michael Thomas isn't in the lineup, but a little bit of edge to the Saints.
Yeah, AJ, I was going to say I'm a little disappointed you didn't have Taysom Hill on here as a tight end. Triggered all those fantasy owners.
I put him at running back. I guess I could have listened. I could have put him at all three spots, I guess.
Really? Everywhere.
But yeah, I think without Michael Thomas, I might give the edge to the Bears secondary here. I really like Eddie Jackson and Kyle Fuller. Obviously they're safeties I'm not huge on. I think them losing Adrian Amos a few years ago was a big loss for them. But yeah, I mean, like Wazinski said, the Saints still have a ton of guys that they can spread it around to, but that seems to have been an issue for them this year, especially without Thomas, as they just haven't been able to push the ball downfield. And they're really just more of a running the ball and dink and dunk team, which at this point in Drew Brees' career, I mean, that it suits him well. But I think because of that, I'm going to give the edge to the Bears secondary.
All right. Well, now the moment everybody's been waiting for, our predictions. Zinky, what do you got?
I just can't take the Bears. I don't think they have, what the Vikings possess in being able to beat the Saints in the postseason when they're severely, rated as the underdog. No big deal. Anyway, so I'm going to take the Saints, and I think it'll be a little bit closer just because the Bears defense is really good, but I think at some point the Saints will pull away. So I'm going to give it like a 28 to 20.
Yeah, who dat say gonna beat them Saints? Not the Bears. I just don't see it. I think they may stay in it for the first half, but I just don't really see this game being very close in the second half. So I'll take the Saints 34-17.
Really want to take the Bears in this one. I like the way Mitchell Trubisky's been playing. I like the way he's been throwing the ball. It wouldn't shock me. The Saints were favored against Minnesota, and, Minnesota somehow beat them last year. Drew Brees is getting older. But, they are saying this is probably going to be Brees' last year playing. I think he's retiring after the season, so he's going to give it them all. So I think he'll somehow find a way to win this game. And I'll give the Saints winning 24-21. I think it's going to be close.
Wow, you guys think this is going to be a close ball game?
I think it's going to be close. But that's all we got for this game. So until next time, see you then.
Peace.